Thank you, Laska Hirlock. And Minister, you're very welcome into the chamber. You'd have to laugh if it weren't so serious at the phrase extraordinary time, limited measures contained in this bill's explanatory memorandum, as each act was passed, that time-limited nature was stressed so heavily. And yet, each sunset clause extension was used in its entirety, every single one, for the full amount. And when we were debating those, you, Minister, stressed that was the end of it. And once those days came and went, new legislation would have to be drawn up. New legislation being drawn up would give these houses a chance to go through the details of each bill and afford them the scrutiny that they are supposed to receive in these houses. But of course, that would be inconvenient to the government. So someone came up with this new brainwave. To be honest, I was shocked that this is allowed. After all, you're posturing on how extraordinary these measures are and the time limits. You can literally just go back, scribble out the end dates and pencil in any other date you want. It displays the most cynical, underhanded attitude towards this House I've ever seen in my time here. It undermines the integrity of the law, of the processes and the operation of the Oireachtas, and it betrays what little of the public trust that is left. So let's be honest here. We're not voting for the continuation of the emergency powers until the end of March. We're extending them until the end of June. So at the drop of a hat, when someone in Timbuktu discovers that Sigma variant, NPHET and the Cabinet can, if they feel like it, introduce a full level 5 lockdown without consulting anyone in the Dail or the Seanad.
Do you really believe that?
But of course,
do you really believe that?
only...
Does she really believe that?
Senator Bushmer.
Could I ask a question? Do you really believe that,
Senator
Keogan?
Bushmer, please take your seat.
But of course, only July arrives, the legislation will lapse and we'll be free from restrictions. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I hope you realise, Minister, that there is no coming back from this. After this, no one will take the sunset clause seriously again. No one in this room or outside it. Once you throw this integral element of legislation under the bus, there is no pulling it back. Successive Dáils and Seanad, successive generations, when presented with time-sensitive legislation by the government of their day, will be able to point back to Minister Donnelly and the Cabinet of Micheál Martin and say that sunset clauses aren't worth the paper they're written on. Aside from that, I've become very concerned over the recent days as to the bigger picture of the global response to Covid. Let's run through a few recent developments and see if we can join the dots. Point 1. A tale of two countries. Germany's new government wants to make vaccinations compulsory, whereas Austria's brand new government is lifting their lockdown for everyone except the unvaccinated. Germany cuts straight to the chase. Your body belongs to the state, and under threat of force you will comply. Austria insidiously preserves the illusion of freedom while locking them in their homes until they freely choose to undergo the rite of passage and be reborn into the new normal. It's simple really. Take the jab and get your freedoms back, except for point 2. The Israeli Minister of Health announced that it will soon approve the 4th vaccine shot. It will mean that all those with 3 shots who don't get the 4th shot will have their Covid passes revoked, as happened to those with 2 shots. So that precious Covid cert, upon which your freedoms hinge, can be invalidated by the wave of a wand, and you'll have to obey it again to get it back, and again and again and again, because, point 3, Pfizer's CEO has said that people will likely to need to have an annual Covid vaccination for many years to come. In other news, the CEO of Coca-Cola recommends a can with every meal. Because I'm sure he's just concerned for people's safety, let's check the stock markets. Oh, what's that? Point 4. In the week of Omicron was discovered, the wealth of the 8 top Pfizer and Moderna shareholders rose by a combined 9 billion. The lesson takeaways. Governments globally have collectively made ordinary participation in society contingent upon consumption of the product of a private company under direct or indirect threat of force. Over the past 2 years, the livelihoods of ordinary people have been steadily siphoned into the pockets of pharma and tech giants. The only hope we have is in recognising that this is entirely unsustainable and will end. Here's to sooner rather than later. Minister, I also want to bring up another issue that you may be aware. In the UK, they've brought in a certificate for those people that, for some reason or other, medically, they may have had the first vaccination, they cannot get the second for medical reasons, or they may not, for medical reasons, be able to get any vaccine. But they have been given a cert. Those people have been given a cert. Now, it's absolutely disgusting. I do not believe that those people that are not vaccinated have had their freedoms curtailed. But certainly the people that have been medically unable to take this vaccine, their freedoms are being curtailed as well. So I want you to look at the legislation that the UK have brought in for that cohort of people. And please do it immediately, because these people, we are letting down the people of Ireland. Thank you.